All right, welcome back tonight too, everyone. Welcome back, some familiar faces, some new faces. Very excited to have you. We have 15 people fully enrolled now, which is very exciting. The first class I taught last year, I had 5 students, so it's awesome to have more. This will be a lot more exciting. We're gonna start getting into some of the nitty gritty of the data visualizations. Don't remind me your name, Paloma.
Yes.
Okay, the way this is kind of set up, you watch the recording, so you know. So we'll do a couple of breaks in there. If you need help finding the bathroom or anything, it just goes straight up the stairs, it's pretty much right there. We got snacks in the back, so make sure to eat all of those. And then if you guys want drinks, they're just right around the corner. We are going to kick things off then. Pull this up. Week 2, visualizing your data. Hey, there he is. Sorry. No worries at all. Were you able to get in the side?
What's up?
Were you able to get in the side?
Or did you come in delivering a Jimmy John sandwich?
Oh, nice. Snuck right in.
Snuck right in.
There you go. I love it. Well, we just started, so you haven't missed anything. Awesome. Okay, so basic overview. I talked through this last week. We'll actually implement it tonight. The first 30 or so minutes, we're gonna do storytelling. I did not get a wheel set up, so I'm gonna ask for maybe 4 or 5 volunteers to come up and show us their dashboards from last week and walk through them. It can be very, very basic. Just pull it up and walk through it. It'll be easy, no pressure, I promise. So be thinking right now, if you want to be one of those lucky few to volunteer. I will say that what we do in the homework and assignments are going to get progressively harder. So if I were you, I'd maybe volunteer tonight. But what do I know? Then we'll get into the lesson part for the first 20 minutes or so after that, where I kind of talk through some of the basics of what we're going to be learning tonight. We'll take our first break right on the hour mark. And then the second hour, we are going to do lesson/hands-on. We're actually going to be kind of co-building charts. So I'll be doing it up front. I'm going to ask that you guys kind of follow along and do it side by side. So it's not just you listening to me ramble for half an hour, then me walking around for half an hour. We'll kind of try to do that live. 3 basic charts, the 99% of everything I do ever: bar chart, line chart, scatter plot. So we will be experts in those tonight. And like I kind of mentioned last week, we'll continue to build off of those and become more advanced throughout the remainder of the course. Then another 10-minute break. And then the last 50 minutes, just like last week, I'll pop up kind of the homework assignment or whatever and give you the time to do it live here in class, so you don't have to do anything outside of class before next Monday. Any questions, problems that we had from last week, concerns, other than getting a Band-Aid in here? We good to go?
Good.
We good? Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to ask anybody that is brave enough to volunteer to just Slack me the link to your Tableau dashboard, and I will pull it up on my computer, and I'll just have you guys kind of come up here and walk through it. And if I don't get 4 volunteers, then I'll have to pick people and I'll feel mean. So other than that, it's just the first 4. This is race.
So I like go to that Tableau public.
Yep, your Tableau public, just copy the link and drop it to me in Slack here. We need from our game show conversation last night, or on Monday, we need the Jeopardy music going on. Is that Jeopardy? Maz is first. All right, so I'm still looking for 3 more, but while you guys are pulling stuff up, Maz, if you don't mind coming up here, I'll pull yours right over to the main screen here. Thank you, Melinda. Do you mind coming up here front and center?
Sorry, just threw a bunch of cheese.
Oh, that's okay. That enhances the experience. If you want to use the mouse or anything, feel free. Otherwise, just feel free to kind of talk through
For sure. Originally, I was looking for like health-related data on stress, just because that's kind of a passion project right now. I was having trouble finding the data set, so I had to just go on the Tableau. And my undergrad's actually in geoscience, so they had some really cool data on volcanic eruptions. And so if you kind of just look at the overview, on the bottom, it's just a size chart to kind of show the number of volcanic eruptions a country has experienced in the start of recorded history up until now. Just because we're in the United States, I like to use us as a kind of a data point. And then additionally, I use the largest, a country with the largest amount of volcanic eruptions, as well as some of the deadliest, and that's Indonesia. We see kind of like at the top, there's that timeline of about 1600 to about all the way to the early 2000s, I think is where the data set ends. But you can kind of see a lot of the deaths kind of span throughout time, except there's one very, very large one. And I think this interactive, does anybody know which volcano or eruption that was?
Where was it, sorry?
What was that?
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So in Indonesia, that one's from Indonesia. That'll make that answer just a little bit easier. 1815, 117,000 people had died in this volcanic eruption. Does anybody know the name of the volcano? So this one is Krakatoa. Krakatoa. This erupted with such violent force that it was heard all the way from Queensland, Australia. Yeah, but this is my chart.
I love it. Cool. Smash the class. There we go. As we get further into the course and we have, like, this was just kind of get used to Tableau, right? But what we'll do typically is we'll present something like this, and then we'll kind of have some interactive feedback with, oh, well, we learned about this, could you implement that, and vice versa. But for night one, this is great. I don't think we're getting till maps until night 4, so you're well ahead of the curve there. But there are a couple things that I love about this, the way you laid out this dashboard. One is like the point you're trying to make and the way you connected it with the audience. The volcano eruption in Indonesia, that is the first thing that jumps off the page, right? Everyone's eyes goes to what's that giant spike right there. So relating that to the story that you're telling, I thought was really cool. I love the way that you broke these down to just 2 countries instead of everything and reduced a lot of the noise. The same thing is like, and we'll talk about that tonight, is get rid of data that you don't care about. Just use the data that you want to show to make your point. And the point you're trying to make is here's the United States as a baseline, and here's the largest one, Indonesia. And then also, everyone loves maps. Maps are great to toss on the dashboards all the time because you just look really smart when you do them. And we'll go through Tableau has a lot of really cool options on things to do inside of maps and display them. So I'm excited for night 4. We can keep this same exact chart and build on top of it. So I think it'll be cool. All right, second volunteer, Melinda. If you don't mind coming up here, I'll pull up yours. I'm still looking for 2 more people to shoot me their link, if you don't mind.
I don't have as much like a direction
Whoops.
where I was going, I just kind of saw what worked and put some things together, so I don't really have anything to talk about like you did. And I also kind of messed up how to do the dashboards, but, so the first one was, I just kind of started with a bar chart and I was comparing, so the data set is about Airbnb listings in New York City. And so I was just looking at the different neighborhoods, the types, and I picked 3 types of rooms to just compare price. And so that's just kind of a standard bar chart table so that you could kind of compare all that in the same grouping. And then I kind of did the coloring for the different the property types. And then the second one, I don't know, can I interact with it on here?
Yep.
Okay.
Feel free to use mine. My mouse is kind of weird, but you can use my trackpad on mine.
Oh, you use your phone, okay, that's weird. This is so awkward.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Well, anyway, so, okay. So this one, I kind of used the same type of information, but I wanted to try to see visually where in the like New York City metro area, these types of rooms were available and by price as well. Oh, I think I actually used the review score, so whatever. So, and they are colored so differently, so then, I'm sorry that I can't like move over, I don't know what to do. But you can kind of hover and see by zip code. Just sort of, I I don't know, just to compare different places or available listings. And then I did one more, and again, I kind of couldn't figure out how to do the dashboard very well.
I apologize, I'm really pretentious with my mouse. so-
Oh, okay, there we go. I was like, I don't know how to,
Oh, it doesn't move.
I don't know how
You
to
can
use
use
it.
this.
Okay. And then I did kind of the same type of information again, but I just wanted to represent it a little bit differently, and so I just did it in the circle way. And I believe it is, the size is based on either the number of listings or the price. And so it's also, you can filter as well, so that way you can kind of like, oh no, what did I do?
Oh.
Well, whatever, you saw it. I'm pushing the wrong button, that's
Cool.
what's going on, I'm pushing the wrong button, that's why. There's too many buttons on this mouse. So yeah, so you can kind of filter out and just like look at things and, if you change different ink,
Could you click on castle? I'm very.
I don't think there's.
Oh, okay, there's a.
Maybe townhouse will give us something different. Oh yeah, so they're like, kind of like, will change based on like, this information, so I just kind of try to see what I could do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, and we got a different chart type, the bubble chart. Perfect. I love, especially on this one, similar to the first one, is like, if the point you were trying to make in this is like, we need to invest in Manhattan apartments, right? Like, that's the first thing that jumps off to the page here. It's very clear that that's where a majority are, which also goes back to kind of your density chart here with your map. You can see kind of the congregation right around in the middle there. I also love the colors that you use here. Was this a Tableau default, or did you kind of pick those out?
I think it just defaulted, but I
Nice.
mean, some of them I might have just selected on its own, but I had thought that there was, because the way it is laid out on there, it looks like there's like a theme, so if you click
Yeah.
one, it would be like different shades of blue or
Yeah.
orange, but they're not like that, and so I'll kind of learn more how to do that.
One of my, so I was lucky enough to go to the Tableau conference in 2019, which is in Las Vegas. And they have this thing, I may assign it as homework one night for you guys to watch. It's called the Iron Viz competition. And there's probably 20, 30,000 people there. And it's like in a stadium, and you have to qualify for it. And they have the 4 winners of the qualifying rounds go up on stage, and they put their Tableau screen up on a giant, like big screen, like not this size, like, 100 feet tall, 100 feet wide. And they give them an hour, they give them all the same data set in an hour and ask them to build a dashboard. That's the only requirements or requests they give. And so they're doing it live for an hour while 30,000 people are watching them. And each one of them there's no better way to describe it other than a hype man to talk while they're building the dashboard. So they'll be like, he's putting in parameters right now. And the crowd's like, ah! It's really cool. Where I'm going with this, and they're all on YouTube, you should watch them, it's very funny. Where I was going with the stories, at the end, they do a live Q&A. I'm like, well, why'd you choose this? Why'd you do that? Walk us through this, kind of like we're doing right now. And someone asked them, why did you choose to use the default Tableau colors instead of making them brighter or using different colors or something like that? He said, well, I'm sure the Tableau team internally spent a ton of time on which colors are best for people to read graphs and understand and comprehend. So I don't think that I'm smarter than the internal team at Tableau, so that's why I went with their default colors. And everyone's like, that was a really good answer. No reason, you're definitely just lazy and chose the default, but way to talk your way out of it right there. All right, one more volunteer. Okay, thank you. This is
Hard to
great.
follow those two up.
I was gonna say, these are two, especially night one, first two, these are some top presentations to follow.
I just started clicking stuff.
I'm like, if castles
Okay,
are a
good.
data
More to
point,
show
like,
more.
how many castles exist in New York?
Yeah,
That's my
I need to
question.
know that.
Okay, so I was interested in accessibility to traditional education. So I was looking at the funding that students receive based on different pieces of information. So the first one that I looked at was the degree of urbanization. And so understanding whether or not the university was in a city, a suburb, or rural area, or a town. and then examining the average percent of freshmen who are receiving Pell Grants at that school. So it looked like in suburbs, that is where students are receiving, or the highest percentage of students are receiving Pell Grants, which I found really interesting. That wasn't what I expected to find. And then you can change that based on geographic region. So right now I'm in the Rocky Mountains, but I was clicking around to see if that changed here. So here, a rural, remote school was the highest average percentage, and that makes a little bit more sense to me. But it's interesting that that changes based on the region. The other piece that I was interested in was the difference between a private school and a public school in terms of oral funding. So for private, or for schools that have the highest degree offered as a master's, private schools are actually funding those students more than public schools are proportionally. So it looks like the same number, but obviously there's a lot more students at a public school than there are at private schools. So I was just looking at what type of funding students could get at the graduate level versus the undergrad level and how that changes based on college type. So, yeah, not as fun as what the other thing, but.
No, I love it. I love, you guys all chose 3 vastly different data sets and put together 3 vastly different charts and stuff like that. This far exceeded my expectations for the night one. Just try something in Tableau and toss it out there. So nice job, you 3. And everyone else that all got everything published out to Tableau Public and have started their journey of building a really, really impressive portfolio. So we are going to expand on that tonight. Boom, boom, boom. Let me pull this back up. I am going to share this whole thing. Boom. Okay. All right. So storytelling, it's done, 8 minutes early. We're well on track as long as Nate doesn't come back in here and distract us all again. So tonight's going to be kind of twofold. The first is going to be basic UX principles of data viz. So I'm going to rely on Melinda to keep me honest here when it comes to design stuff. I actually stole a lot of this as we go through from a couple of really cool articles that I'll link out to. There's a million different things that they kind of pick at. I chose the 3 that I thought were most impactful and that I use the most in my day-to-day role. And we're going to go through those. And then we're going to apply those UX principles to 3 essential data visualizations. So bar chart, line chart, scatter plot. And then if we have time, we'll get into tooltips and dashboard design, just the basics of that so we can start rounding out our visualizations that we publish out to make them a little bit fancier. So back to basics. Last week, we spent pretty much the entire class going wide. We talked about the 9 different things in the Tableau UI. Here's how you can toss stuff together. Here's a show me, here's dimensions, here's measures, blah, 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 just trying to get everyone familiar. Tonight, we're going to choose those 3 things that I talked about and go really, really deep into kind of the Tableau basics there. And then the rest of the course, we're going to kind of continue to build on top of that. So I would consider tonight kind of the first step into the data viz stuff and away from here's how Tableau works. So I'd say I could probably update this. This slide is from last year, 90%. I could probably say about 99% of my time right now is spent building these charts. And about 90% of that time is spent making sure that they look really, really good. So I would definitely say that tonight will be the most impactful night of the course. If you guys feel good leaving tonight, you're going to feel good about the next 6 nights for sure. Time to steal. So this is what I talked about. So Edward Tufte is known as like kind of the godfather of data visualization. He has this book that I actually have laying at my desk at work just because I think it makes me look fancy having like a book on my desk. The Visual Display of Quantitative Information. It's a really, really good book. If you guys are interested in looking fancy at work, you can buy it and put it on your desk. I'll bring it in next week and we'll pass it around. So I've read that, I've skimmed through it a couple times. It's pretty heavy. Mala Deep here wrote a Medium article that I reference constantly. And I have linked here, so when I send the links out, feel free to dive into that and read it through. And so I'm gonna combine kind of those two things tonight and talk through those, but I didn't want to steal. I wanted to give credit where credit's due. These guys are both awesome, and I use their ideas and content frequently. So there's kind of an important distinction when it comes to data visualization is, are you building this for yourself or if you're building it for someone else? So a lot of what we do and a lot of what you guys presented is like, I'm interested in this stuff. I'm gonna dive into the data and figure out the answers that I need to know. That's called exploratory data analysis, or I'll call it EDA for short. It's like, this is just for me to learn and form my opinions. So it says between the designer and the data, but for the data analyst and the data. Data viz, and what this class is really focused on, is how do you have a conversation between the data and your audience? A really bummer of a realization that I had is when you're presenting to your boss or your CEO or whoever else it may be, they don't really care that much about how much work you put into the Tableau and make it super fancy and the bright colors and blah, blah, blah. They just want to know, is this good? This is bad. Like, what should I do? And I've had meetings absolutely blow up because I spent 24 hours trying to make a chart I'd never made before and no one had ever seen before. And I'm super proud of it. And they're like, what am I looking at here? It's like, just give me a bar chart. Is it going up and to the right? That's what I care about. And I think that often gets overlooked. The inverse is true too. If you make it too complicated or too complex, you lose people right away. Also, if you don't spend any time making it look good, you lose a ton of professionalism and you lose a ton of like the trust of, do they actually know what they talk about? And it's kind of an annoying realization, but it's a true one that if you come in with a really clean formatted dashboard and can easily present and articulate your ideas through that data, that's when you're gonna start getting buy-in and gonna start having impact from the data that you find. So I would say that we're gonna organically do a lot of the EDA in this class as you guys are working with these new data sets, but we're really gonna be focused on how do you then take that data and put together a really impactful story. So 3 rules, I call this promotion-worthy data viz. I would like to clarify in Nate's kind of opening pump-up speech that he talked when he said I was one of the best Tableau viz guys in Omaha. I would not say that. If you go through like Tableau Public, which I would recommend doing, and like look at some of the featured things, I have no idea how to make those like fancy starburst charts and things like that. What I am really good at is figuring out how to present information that is really, really digestible. So I wouldn't call that a good data viz. I wouldn't call that an expert data viz. I'd call it a promotion-worthy data viz. How do you do stuff that you can easily use to tell a story, make a change, make impact, and ultimately get promoted? So the 3 things that we're going to talk about today is the first, the data ink ratio, chart junk, and then 1 + 1 = 3. So we'll go through these kind of one by one here. I would call the data ink ratio the most important thing, and I reference it constantly. I feel like I've already said most important thing 10 times now, so I need to limit myself on what I actually consider the most important. But when I am training new hires or walking interns through or teaching a class, this is like the #1 mistake and the #1 opportunity to get a lot better in your data viz is understanding the data ink ratio. So Tufty, our guy, the godfather, defines data ink as the non-erasable core of the graphic. Or in other words, the data ink ratio is the portion of ink or pixels that makes up the data information on the view. He goes on to say, above all else, show the data. So this is essentially saying, strip away anything that you don't need to show the data that you're trying to show. So I think it's better with an example. This is one, again, that I stole from that Medium article of something that has really low data ink ratio. So a lot of ink or a lot of pixels, not a lot of data. So what would be some things on here that you guys would consider a waste of space, a waste of ink, maybe duplicative? Any ideas? There's probably about 5 or 6 things on here that I think are redundant or a waste of ink. Yeah.
I think penguin, right? I feel like you could just, could you create an axis title?
You're talking
For the x-axis.
Oh, okay. X-axis here.
Yeah, x-axis, and then you could just, it wouldn't be so busy,
Yeah.
right? You got Adelaide, Gen 2, and whatever the other one is.
It says penguin 3 different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it says it in the list of the species too.
Yeah.
Right.
So we got it here and here. Those are both great.
A lot of penguins.
What else?
Could you just put for body mass in the title, could you say body mass and then on the axis say grams?
Love that.
Mhm.
Yep, that's another one for sure. I'm actually a pretty big proponent of not having y-axis titles at all. Sometimes you need them, but if the title of the chart, to your point, is penguin and body mass, and you have your penguins here and you have numbers here, it's pretty easy to understand that you're showing body mass, right?
Mm.
Like it's just too big. There's a lot of space.
Yeah,
There's only 3 very simple measurements. They could be closer together. You don't need the whole
yeah.
gray background.
Free real estate.
So you guys have kind of hit on a couple things individually, but together, you really don't need, you can either have your titles right here underneath the bars, or if you don't want to put those, you can put a color axis and say what they are. But this is really redundant right here and also causes confusion because they're like, okay, this is the Gentoo penguin. Wait, what's blue? Oh, it's the Gentoo penguin. Gentoo,
And
Gentoo.
they're in different orders, which.
Yeah,
Is not
also
really a
annoying.
huge thing, but it's.
I think we're getting
Yeah,
close to
you're
them.
right, it's bothering me now.
Yeah, that's also true. That's annoying. Then the last thing I'd
That's
say, the last 2 things is one, the gray background, I think is a waste of ink. For sure, there's like no reason. Maybe if you're wanting to like build something on brand, you want to have your brand colors in there to make it fancy, great. And then another thing that I don't think is a hot take, but grid lines, when you don't need them, I think are a waste of space as well too. It just kind of clutters up the chart. Unless you're trying to show like a very precise thing of this is 48.67 and you want to have the grid lines understand it lands between 0.6 and 0.7, great. But here you're just trying to show like this one's really high, it's close to 55, this one's between 45 and 50. So I don't think you need the grid lines as well either. So if we were to clean this up and just look at the difference between the two, this has really, really high data ink ratio. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things, I think we nailed them all. Simplifies it down. We did exactly what you said. There's no reason to put penguin twice on there. They actually got rid of the x-axis or the y-axis completely and just tossed it on as labels, which I think is fine. I could to each their own. They centered the body mass up top, which I didn't realize how much that annoyed me until you pointed it out. I hadn't got that one before. So yeah, and I think if you were to like present to a group of like data nerds that love Tableau, they would like this one a lot better. But if you were going to a room with a bunch of executives, they would like this one a lot better. And that's what ultimately is going to help you convey the message. And this is a silly example. And there's obviously times you want to break those rules one way or the other. But high data ink ratio is the number one thing that we're going to be incorporating tonight when we actually start building out these charts. The next one's kind of simple, but people love to get carried away. Chart junk. Tufte calls chart junk the excessive and unnecessary use of graphical effects in charts. Kill the frills and get to the point. Tufte was kind of a stubborn old man, and so I love just envisioning him saying this, no fun, no colors. Like he would love this chart, I'm sure. So what do we need by chart junk? We're gonna stick on the penguins and body mass here. Obviously a lot of data ink in here, but what's the number one thing that you would probably jump out as chart junk on here?
The picture,
The penguin. People love putting logos on dashboards. They love putting fancy colors. They love putting different designs. Like if you guys have ever seen like ESPN or like the news are awful of this, they'll make like 3D bar charts that like spin horizontally and stuff like that. Like you're just distracting away from what you're trying to show. If you were to pull this up, everyone's gonna be focused on like how cute the penguin is, and they're not gonna focus on the first 30 seconds of your talking because that's what they're gonna be looking at. So how can we improve this? A lot of them is similar to the data ink, so get rid of the legends. We don't need the penguin image. Title has G denoting gram, but it's also on the label, so we call that junk. That was one I hadn't caught before. Removing the word penguin from the labels and adding species on the title, so it's a little more clear what you're looking at there.
I also think, I mean, this is not the same thing, but showing that in that way, you can't really see the difference in the size to actually meaningfully like see the difference.
Yeah.
That format I wouldn't probably do.
Yeah, Pie charts, this is technically called a donut chart, the worst. I'll fight that battle a million times out of a million times. I've gotten into some heated arguments with people on my team before on when to use a pie chart. The answer is never. Unless, the only time you try to, and when I would use it is if you're going for like dramatic effect and you have something that is making up 99% versus 1, you want to show, look, this is huge and this is small. Or the opposite, you want to show these are pretty close and it's like 50-50, great, toss them like that in there. But for something like this, I would actually consider this a horrible data viz because it's tough to tell. I mean, just look at the one we put together here, right? Like this is infinitely easier to see. It's the same data, but just shown a different way. So bad example from our guy, Mola, in his Medium article. All right, then the last one, 1 + 1 = 3. So what we're talking about here is white space. And this is gonna be a big one and one of my biggest pet peeves with Tableau is by default, it doesn't give you a lot of white space. It gives you everything in a border, everything in a box. It gives you axes and grid lines and things like that. White space is an element, and when used correctly, can really open up your visualizations. Improves readability, makes sure text are clear and legible. Effective use of white space has been shown to improve content comprehension by 20%. I don't know if that's true, but it was an article. Understand the content better. It gives you a really good sense of flow of where things should be and allows you to organically kind of move through and much more. So a couple of examples here is one just on this slide. Here's an example of like really, really well used white space. Like the point I'm trying to make on this is white space in the element, use it. You don't need another bullet point or in a bullet, you can use that white space and then we go into there. So the 1 + 1 = 3 is saying the top thing is an element, that's 1. The first bullet point is an element, that's 1. But you have this kind of hidden layer element, which is the white space, which is another element. So you can use it without actually cluttering up the things. So you're able to get 3 different things on one chart without having to have a hard line and continue to confuse people on where to read and what to look at, things like that. Spam. So another chart that, or another example that I use white space in constantly, these are the names from the people I taught last time, is in tables. Nothing bothers me more when people have like really, really ugly tables with grid lines and labels and things like that. You don't need a column divider between the two. You don't need column headers and then another set of column headers and things like that. You have your first name, which is one element, your last name, which is one element, and then a white space in between, and it makes it look infinitely cleaner. Again, names are kind of a silly example, but when you're working with millions of dollars or percentages with a tons of like bullet point or decimal points and things like that, anything you can do to reduce the clutter, improve the data ink ratio, white space is a great way to use that. So those will be kind of the 3 principles that we will talk through as we start building out our charts. Let's see if we have anything else. Oh, just another one more example of white space in Tableau. So this is something that we'll make later tonight. It's a really simple, just line graph. But again, by default, Tableau kind of gives you these really ugly borders around it, which just clogs up the chart, clogs up the data ink ratio, junk frills or whatever he calls it. Again, you can just remove those and you can easily see where the chart ends and starts without needing to have those in there. So again, it may seem like really simple stuff because it is, but if you can nail these things, it's going to infinitely improve everything that you do. So I'm sure if you guys are looking at your like homework from night 1 and going through everything, you're like, oh yeah, I could get rid of that, I could get rid of that, I could remove that. That's what we're going to start doing now that we've learned this and building on top of as we continue to improve our business. So let's, we're a little ahead of schedule, so let's just roll through. Let's see. No, let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break. Let's get some snacks and bathroom and stuff like that, because we got a big chunk of hands-on stuff coming up here that we're probably going to take up some time. So let's be back in 5 to 10 minutes, 6:40 now. Be back here 6:45, 6:50. All good.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know those. I've got my eyes on those gargettos back there.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Let that know. The complicated. Yeah.
All right, I'll give the 1 minute warning here. For people at home or in here. Cool. All right, let's dive in. I found some Band-Aids, by the way.
Oh,
Is it okay?
nice.
And when I say I found them, I mean Nate found them, that found them, and I grabbed them. I don't want to take unnecessary credit. All right, so the way we're gonna kind of divvy this up is we're gonna spend about 10 minutes on each of these or so, where I'm going to do something up here in front of it, and then you guys kind of follow along, and then I'll walk around with any questions or anything. We'll go one by one, line chart, then come back up here once everyone has it, bar chart, scatter plot, so on and so forth. So let's get out of ugly PowerPoint and open up Tableau Public. I'm gonna go ahead and just start a brand new workbook. So we'll go Microsoft Excel, go to our old Superstore. And we are still just gonna be using orders for this one. So we'll dive in. I guess I did have one more slide. The output of what we're gonna kind of look for tonight is we're gonna build each one of these individually. So these will be our line charts to just get the basics. These will be our bar charts, and then this will be our scatter plot. And then we're gonna learn what we used about during the boring lesson at the front hand of the class, to make it look a little prettier in the bottom section here, but I'm gonna keep this up on the side here so I can remember what I'm supposed to be building. So line chart's pretty simple. We are gonna be looking at sales by order date. So we're just gonna go ahead and bring order date over to our columns. And we are going to bring sales to our rows. Voila, we have a line chart. Now, as we're going through these, even though the goal is just line bar, scatter plot, or whatever, I'm gonna be kind of showing some tips and tricks on some other areas along the way. So the first thing is Tableau always defaults to when you bring dates in here as just the overall year. So we have 2014, 15, so on and so forth. I want it a little more granular, so I'm gonna click this drop down here and go down here to month. So you can see May 2015, that's what we want. So now we got it aggregated by month, by year. Just to show you guys a couple other options, we could do the week numbers. We could actually go and just aggregate by the name of the month. So here's all January, 2015, 16, 17, 18, so on, all February, March. So there's only 12 options here. And so on and so forth for years and quarters. But typically I want to aggregate stuff up on the month level, so I'm going to choose this one here. And we are going to want to show our furniture sales, our office supplies, and our technology. So we're going to bring in category as a filter. We're going to go all, and so here's another tip and trick. I know some people were kind of struggling with this the other night too. It's like, okay, I selected that as a filter. How do I actually use the filter now? You have to go in here and hit show filter, right? It pops up. If you want to skip that annoying step, you can just right click or hit the little drop down right where it says category and just hit show filter right away and it pops over. So if we wanted to look at our furniture sales, our office supply sales, our technology sales, we could do something like this, where we go furniture here, and let's just go ahead and name this furniture sales. All right, next tip and trick. If I want something very similar to this, and I know I'm gonna make it again, instead of starting a brand new sheet and building it from scratch, there's this handy little duplicate button up here. I can click this and it brings over exactly like that. Let's go office supplies now. Rename this office supplies.
You hit duplicate down there at the bottom?
Duplicate was right up here at the top. I'm gonna take a pause and walk around after one more. Duplicate, technology, we'll call this technology sales. And
What
now,
are the measures again?
whoops, I had quantity in all of these, but, sales is what I meant.
Oh, okay. All lost.
My bad, probably because I kept saying sales, but we're showing something else completely different.
And then the month is showing green. Is that a measure or?
Wow, great question. Okay, so the difference between the question, if you guys can't hear, actually you're pretty close to the speaker, so hopefully, is why is this showing green? I thought that measures were always green and dimensions are always blue. When it comes to measures, there's two different types. You can have discrete and continuous. So discrete would be like a year where everything is 2015, everything is 2016, everything is 2017. Since we're doing month in this way, it's considering that continuous because it goes continuously throughout the course of the year. So that's why I changed it to green. If I wanted these broken out into individual months, and this is probably too much, but you can actually go down here where it says continuous, you could hit discrete, and then it turns it blue. The chart itself doesn't really change any much, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But continuous. So a really ugly V1 of this, if I wanted to start a dashboard, is I could drag furniture sales, office supply sales, technology sales, and now I have all three of these in one chart. So we're gonna pause right here to make sure everyone can get caught up, and then we're gonna take what we learned about in the lesson, to make this look infinitely better. So I'm gonna walk around the room for the people remote. You guys are live on the speaker. Just say hey, and we can share your screen and go through any questions that you may have as well.
I'm still getting a different chart.
Go ahead, that right drop down on your month order date. So right now you're selected on month, just the month. So it's grouping all January, February, March. If you go month here where it says May 2015. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you always kind of have to look at the examples when you're choosing your dates because it'll say month
Like,
and month and there's
yeah.
no difference there. So
Thank you.
definitely confusing. Okay, you're grinding right along. You're getting it.
I didn't change it to the other month. I did it on
All good. Get everything set up.
Sorry, I had
No.
bad vision, so I had a hard time seeing.
No worries at all. I can actually make that a little bigger for everyone too. Come on here. Okay, so this is actually the same thing as we're gonna do too, though I didn't hit the drop down button. So even though it says month here and month here, we're gonna want the one that has the month and the year. Otherwise it screws them all together. Yep, looks great. Bango, bango, bongo, got it? Anyone remote have any questions? Like I said, I've done this before, it's really easy, you just share your screen, I can kind of walk you through anything that you have.
I do have a question. When you're putting, so furniture, when you're putting in the furniture and the filter, what are you dragging over there? Sales?
Yeah, so I have, for the filter, I'm
Category.
just category, is the filter, and then just selecting furniture.
But where
Then I
did
just
you grab that from? The category.
Over here on the left.
Oh, category. I see it. Yep. I didn't see it before.
Totally fine. Anytime you're working with I've worked with this data set for like 6 years now, so I'm very familiar with the field, but anytime you're working with something brand new, so it kind of takes a minute to get up to speed on what everything is included in there.
So I don't see the category. I see a subcategory, but I don't see a category. Is there something?
So you have this one here. Can you see my screen all right?
Yeah. So I have that one. Yeah.
But you don't have category at the top?
No, it starts at city. Oh, that's
Interesting.
probably because I had to scroll up. I got it.
There you go. Okay, some people are still finishing these out. For those people that have it done, let's talk about how bad this dashboard is now. So what are some things that we would want to change based on what we learned about tonight that we can use to improve this?
Well, the axes are redundant and it's like 3 different times. It's the same information for each one.
Both of them, the x-axis and the y-axis, right? We got sales everywhere. We got order dates everywhere. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, yeah, we can just simplify it by putting all the information together. Since you've got both X and Y axes that are the same, and you've got 3 filters up there that are the same filter.
Yeah, you could either have the filters or the title, but you don't need both.
Yep, completely agree. So let's make this look a little better. If you guys are still working on building this out, you can stop where you're at because we're gonna trash it and start from scratch. So let's create a new worksheet. We're still gonna bring order date over to the columns. And we're gonna make sure that we're selected on our month. We're still gonna bring sales over to our rows. And here's our kind of overarching chart here. And so now a great way to improve on what we had is bring the category, instead of using it as a filter, let's just use it as a color. So now we have all three things on one chart. It's still a little noisy, we'll clean it up a bit. But let's start with making some of those other improvements. So we are gonna call this sales by category. So now we have sales up here, we have category here, so we can get rid of our axes. So to do that, you just double click into the y-axis, and here will be your axis tile right here. So whatever you type in there updates here. We're just going to remove all of that. And now we have our x-axis or y-axis cleaned up. Then these are obviously our months right here. Let's go ahead and remove that one too. And it's starting to take a little cleaner shape. Any questions on those two steps before I get too far ahead?
I'm trying to figure out why you got the month name stuff that don't have the month name. Does that matter?
On the bottom,
Yeah.
it could be.
Yeah, mine just says year two.
And mine's just the 2014, 2015.
It could just be. Yeah, so I think it's just, if you guys go full screen here, it might just be trying to condense it down, hit that button. But we're gonna change those anyways.
Gotcha.
Because I think it's a waste of classic data ink, so we're gonna change those in a bit. Yes.
Do you have grid lines on yours and I just can't see them?
I do, and we are also gonna remove those.
Okay.
You guys are perfect students, your name and everything.
I'm like, I don't see them. How long do I have to look at this to see them?
I have some grid lines, how do I
Yeah.
fix this?
I was like, oh my gosh.
Way too many cards up here. All right, so the two most commonly requested things here is how do we turn off grid lines? So we'll do that first. You're gonna right click anywhere in the in your view here and hit format. And there are a million different format options. And I've been using Tableau for 6 years and I still don't know all of them. But the most important one that I do every time is go over to the far right where it says lines. And then where it says rows, because we want to turn off the grid line rows. Right here where it says grid line, just select none. You can't really see them on my screen, but they just disappeared.
Cool.
While we're over here, something that I like to do that I think makes the chart just pop a little bit more is let's go to sheet, and where it says axis rulers, let's go ahead and just select the black color here. And that's gonna pop up a really clean line and delineate our chart from our axis here. That's a personal preference. I think it technically probably goes against the white space rule that I talked about. But since we were over in format, I figured I'd show how to change those as well.
Said it's axis rulers?
Yep. Is it not popping up for you?
No.
Yeah, and then just click the.
Oh, it's just
black.
the,
Yeah. There you go.
okay, gotcha. Just the thickness.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, in our homework assignment time or whatever, if you want to play around with some of these different formatting options and explore, feel free. But I feel like grid lines and axis rulers are about all I ever do. Now, I hate, the other thing that someone was asking about was axis. When you have dates here, some people are just showing years. I hate when it shows the full month anyways. So I'm actually gonna right click on the axis now, just like we just did, and hit format. And then where it says dates over here, you can see where it says March 2001, so it's showing the full month, the full year. If you click on that, it will give you a lot of different options. Really kind of dealer's choice on whatever you prefer. My favorite though, is if you actually hit custom, you can type in month, so MMM, and now you can see it shows just the first 3 letters of the month. Space YY shows the last 2 letters, or the last 2 digits of the year. So you can see November 13, February 18. I like that. I don't think there's a real strong preference either way. You can mess around with a few different ones, but showing the full month and the full year, I think is a little obnoxious. So I always go MMM, YY on 100% of charts I've ever built. All right, we're looking good. Last 2 things we're gonna do. I think that this is still a really cluttered chart. We're going 5 different years here, 12 months, so 60 different data points on here. I would never show something like this because you can't really tell what's going on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take order date and I'm gonna go ahead and just click show filter. And now we have 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. So I would go through and I'd say, hey, here's 2017, here's 2016, here's 2015. And now you can actually tell what's going on. If I was trying to show like year over year trends, then I would just aggregate it by year. But since I'm showing month, let's actually get some detail into what's happening that year. So I'll maybe just pick 2017 for the sake of the example. Any questions? Everyone good?
When you made the custom date, did you just put MM?
MMM,
Oh,
space YY.
MMM. Wow. Oh, cool. God.
Okay, for the sake of the class, I am going to create a story. You guys do not need to do this, but I'm gonna go dashboard 1. I'm gonna call this is what I'll publish to Tableau for you guys to look at. Bad example. Line chart. Break 1. So then when at the end of the night, we can go through and click through and see kind of the differences between the 2. Yeah, I actually don't hate year of order date there. I think that's fine. Okay, I like it. What do you guys think? Questions, improvements, comments? Cool. Let's move on to a bar chart. So let's go ahead and create a new sheet. we're gonna do sales by region. So let's bring region over to our columns. Let's bring sales to our rows. And then let's say, just for the sake of the example, we want to understand how our different categories are performing in our different regions. So we may think that we want to do just like we did last time and bring category onto color here. And call this good. So this is region, sales, category. I would call this one categories by region. This will be kind of our baseline, that example to build off of. Well, let's get this built out first before we start changing that. Give me a little nod or something when you guys get it here. Good. And again, remote people, just chime in if you have any questions. Okay, so what do we hate about this chart now?
We hate about it?
Yeah, what do we hate?
The colors.
Colors?
It's hard to compare them.
Very hard to compare them.
Yeah.
Real pie chart vibes going on here.
Pie chart.
I think we should probably switch to just.
Please, go home and get it.
Yeah, I think those two for sure. We got some axis labels going on again that we can probably get rid of. I'd say the biggest two though is it's really hard to compare what's going on here. And the colors, it's really hard to tell going back and forth between the two, what's happening there. So let us, let's go ahead and just duplicate this because it's just going to take a couple changes. So if we're wanting to segment stuff out and dropping it onto the color isn't a good option here, what we're going to do, and this will be the first time that we're doing this, is we're going to actually add a second dimension up to our columns. So let's go ahead and take category and drag it up right on the other side of region. And now you can see how that breaks down as we have our regions, central, east, southwest. Inside of each one of those, we have our furniture, office, technology, furniture, office, technology. Now, I would say we made two steps forward, one step back. We have some duplication of things down below here. It's also kind of hard to tell which one is which. So let's do something really fancy. Take category from the side, keep it up here. Let's drag that onto the colors as well too. And now we can easily tell the difference between the two. We can see technology, each one. But we need to get rid of furniture, office, technology because now we just have it one time up here, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna right click instead of hitting format, where this little checkbox says and says show header. We're just gonna kind of go ahead and get rid of that completely. Now we just have one spot, category, furniture, office supplies, technology. We have our regions up above there. And we're starting to get places. That was 2 steps forward right there. As you guys are building this out, some of you are already done. We can do the same thing that we did last time. Let's double click into the, let's just go ahead and right click region. Hide field labels for columns. I guess we didn't do that last time. And then we can right or double click on our axis. Get rid of sales. Now, I guess I did title this just top regions by category or top categories by region. We don't have the sales over there. We should probably title this top sales category by region.
You just double clicked on region to?
No, I misspoke. Right click region and it'll say hide field labels. Okay. Now, who wants to guess the next thing that we'll do here? Although you can't really see it on the screen. The lines, yes. So remember, we're gonna right click, repetition, we're getting some reps in. Remember this, we're gonna hit format, go over to rows, go over to lines, remove the grid lines. Now, something we didn't do on the last one, but we did talk about at the beginning of the class, is we have these really ugly boxes around the outside here. Tableau, like I said, does that by default. So in order to get rid of that, we're gonna click on this borders option. So just one to the left of lines where it says borders. We can actually just go ahead and click on sheet instead of doing rows and columns individually. And where it says row divider, we're gonna go none. And when it says column divider, we're gonna go none. Hold on. I actually kind of like the column divider because it separates central, east, southwest. What do you guys think? Show of hands. Column divider, yes or no?
Maybe we make it,
Fairness view, yes.
let's make it bolder, maybe?
More bold.
Yeah.
That? I don't hate it. There's gonna be some basic principles we have, but a lot of this stuff is gonna be user preference.
Is there a way to add white space between the regions, but not between each individual bar?
You know what? I don't know. I agree that would probably be best case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe filter by region.
Yeah, let me take that specific question home as homework and I'll come back to you guys next Monday and see if we can do that. Now, the only thing I don't like, I liked removing rid of the categories at the bottom here, but now it just kind of looks like these are floating. So let's go ahead and add that axis ruler back in. Again, that's over in lines, axis rulers. Let's not do it for the full sheet though. Let's just do it for the columns. And now we have a nice little border at the bottom there. And again, I want to reiterate the format section of Tableau, in my opinion, is the most confusing section of all Tableau, and I can never remember where things are. So if you guys are thinking to yourselves like lines, grid lines, borders, sheet, rows, columns, I'm still thinking that same thing. So do you think I'm going to keep that column divider in there for now?
So I'm supposed to have something on the bottom.
Yeah, if you go to your format and over to the lines,
Yeah.
just where it says columns here, and then axis rulers, if you just hit the color black right here, it will change that bottom.
And then for the bold on the columns, I'll go to borders columns. For these borders columns. Right?
Yeah, I think that's the way.
Or these ones.
Yeah, mine are just a little darker. Oh yeah, I did.
Like this column?
Yeah, and then it can just go to black there. Yep.
Okay.
All right, the last thing we'll do on this one just to show you guys how to do it. I'm not sure if it was necessarily the best view or not, but let's do something a little different so we can learn. Let's say that I am the VP of sales and I need to hit my budget numbers of 170K. I can't necessarily tell what these are unless I hover over them exactly. And let's say I'm in a really big meeting and I need to know exactly what our numbers were, not just where they're at. Let's go ahead and bring sales over from the left onto the label here. Now I have the exact number here. And then at that point, I no longer need this axis tile, right? Because it's redundant.
Mhm.
So we just right click that, remove show header, and it showed as is.
So mine are,
Up and down.
yeah, vertical.
Yeah. So Tableau does a pretty good job of making the most of its space. If I was a little smaller here, so I have a big
Gotcha.
monitor, so
Okay.
it defaults wider. Same thing like it was doing with the dates on that last one, is just trying to get rid of as much as
Just
it
trying to
can.
fit in.
Yeah. In fact, I would even say the way I had it here, let's see if I can get back to that. I think that this was a little crowded this way even. I would probably keep them vertical here. So if I wanted to keep them horizontal, I'd probably just make this a little bigger so they all have their own room to shine there.
Gotcha.
All right, so now I'm going to go back to my story. I'm going to add both of these in here. Why is this? Where's it at? Oh.
Do you
Okay.
just use stories in work a lot? Like what is the?
I never use
functionality?
stories ever,
Okay.
except for right now.
Okay.
I think, especially because like if you guys remember, let's go off my Tableau public. If you publish multiple views, Tableau by default will give you tabs between them all at the top. So if I wanted to show you guys 4 different things, I would just like click through the tabs. So I don't really understand the point of a story where it's just that tab inside of a tab.
Just wasting real estate.
Yeah. So unless I wanted to do like multiple stories, maybe. I mean, I guess you can make them look kind of nice, like you can customize the colors here and stuff, but no, I don't use it anymore. Cool. Any questions on the bar charts? Otherwise, we'll dive into scatter. Cool. So let's go ahead and start a brand new worksheet. We are going to do, this will be a little different one. Let's bring sales up to our rows, just like we have been doing. But instead of bringing over a dimension, let's bring over another measure. Let's do profit. So we want to understand our ratio between our profit and our sales. So by default, what it gives you here is taking the sum of all of our sales and plotting it right here. So in total, we've had 2,297,201 sales. And it's taking our profit, total sum of profit, just like it says, and putting it right here. So we have one part on the scatter plot. That's not very exciting at all. and a horrible example for me to use in this class. So let's also drag on state into color. And it's gonna give you this thing, it's gonna say, oh, you're adding 51 right here, are you sure? Let's go ahead and hit add all numbers. I think that may be running.
Pizza, you should.
Oh, I did not, so I'm glad you not. Were you waiting out there long? No. Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't know if I, had it up there, but glad you could make it. Where were you at again?
At your booster club.
Booster Club. How'd that go?
Good, but I asked to go first, but it was National Signing Day and we didn't have.
Oh, yeah,
We lose our football field next year, so it came out in the media, so lots of questions.
gotcha. Gosh, I wish you had like some nice Tableau dashboards to show up and kill all the questions.
Right, send email.
Well, glad you could make it. I appreciate you coming in.
You bet.
Everyone get to this point at least? Cool. So now, let's make sure we understand what's happening here. We're essentially grouping by state. So each one of these little circles here is a different state. And for each state is putting together the sum of sales and the sum of profit. So for New York, it's summing up all the sales for New York. We have 300,000, profit 74,000, and like so on and so forth for all the other states. Now, I built it this way just so I could show you this cool functionality. I use it far more often. It seems simple, but I use it all the time. If you don't like how something is oriented, say you have bars going up and down and you want them sideways, instead of like manually moving these around, dragging this one up here, dragging this one down here, which essentially does the same thing. There's this handy little widget button, I'm not sure what words I just combined, but that swaps the rows and columns. So profit on the top, swap, now sales is on the top, swap, 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 swap. So really handy, seems silly, but I use it a lot. So now I like it this way better because everything is, we don't have it going back and forth across the y-axis, everything just goes out. I don't know if it really matters, but. So what do we hate about this chart?
Seems like too much.
A ton going on.
Yeah,
And there's so much extra because of the outliers.
Yeah,
good point, yeah.
outliers are good. The colors are essentially doing nothing for me here. I can't look at this light shade of green and try to figure out what light shade of green matches up over there. So let's go ahead and name this one.
It's either Nebraska or Connecticut.
Yeah, one of the two. Sales versus profits. We're gonna save this. Let's go ahead and duplicate and start making it look a little better. So I don't like the colors. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna show a couple different options. I know someone had mentioned the outliers. You could definitely just remove them. We could toss state on the filter and get rid of, New York or California. I think it may be interesting to show the outliers, but I want to know who they are. So all I'm going to do is drag state from our colors, and I'm going to drag it right onto label. Now, what it will do is, again, it's really good at knowing where we can put labels and not have it crowded or overlapping. So it labels the ones that are kind of outliers here. You get kind of lost in the middle ones here. So if you really wanted to focus on that, I'd probably either remove the outliers or have a filter in there, potentially even by region. We could show a region. And we can filter these down a little bit to get a little more view. But since we already use region as a filter, let's just kind of leave it as is for now. The grid lines are annoying. We know how to do that. Third time's a charm. Right click format, over the lines, remove the lines for columns and rows. I do think that, with everything going on here, some axis rulers would look really nice. So we know how to do that. Axis rulers to black, axis rulers to black. We have that. Now, I think that typically we would remove our profit and our sales because it's redundant. But in this specific examples, all we're saying up top is sales versus profits. And if we were to remove these, we wouldn't easily be able to tell which is on the X and which is on the right or Y axis. So I'm gonna actually leave them in here to make it a little more clear that profits is going this way, sales is going this way.
That sounds good.
And then maybe only other thing I would add is being a little more descriptive in the title, saying sales versus profits by state. Okay, I'm gonna add these to my story, so not a whole lot different here. But even just those few simple changes make this a lot more impactful between the two. Let's go. Okay, so we've cranked out scatter plots, bar charts, line charts. Now let's go into some dashboard design. Let's say we want to show all three of these at once. Dashboards are one of the most effective tools that you can have. It's also one of the more annoying things to work with, but there's some really simple tips and tricks that we can implement to make sure that these are all looking really good. So the first thing that we typically do is you start dragging stuff over. You guys don't have to follow this part, right? We bring this here, we bring this here, we bring this somewhere. Some of them are kind of crowded here. They're not all the same size. We have our categories and our filter dates over here. So what Tableau does that allows you to make sure that these look really nice is let's start with just one. Let's bring sales by category into here. And let's first of all start changing this to be a little bit wider because right now we're not using very much room. So the size option here is going to allow us to change. Right now it's a range where it gives you a width and a height. What I typically always do is just go automatic. And what that's going to do is going to fill up your screen. So if you guys are on a small laptop or a big projector, it's going to take up the most space that it possibly can. And we now have sales by category, we have our filter, we have our category, colors, so we're off to a good start. Now let's say we want to split the other two up evenly. The way that Tableau does that is using containers over here. So where it says horizontal container, does everyone see that? Let's bring that over to the bottom here and drop that in. Now what a horizontal container is going to do is it's going to allow us to put two things side by side. If we wanted them side by side, obviously it's horizontal. If we wanted them top and bottom, then that would be a vertical container. But now we can bring top sales by category, just drop it into that container. And now if we wanted to bring the second one, sales versus profit by state, when you go to drag that over, you're going to see that it snaps to just the left side of that container that you just added in. And it's going to evenly space those two side by side here. So you don't have to worry about them fitting in and taking up space one way or the other. is gonna evenly decide them or distribute them side by side.
Did I not drop lines right? 'Cause it didn't, like, split.
It takes some getting used to for sure.
I didn't drop them there. This,
Yeah. Right there, yeah. Okay, hold on, stay right there. One more thing we can do. Okay, so if anyone else is running into this issue, when they're in the container, you can still drag them however big you want them side by side. Say you wanted them perfectly the same size. What you can do is click into either one of them and hit this drop down arrow. And you can do select container. That will give you the whole container here. And now you can see the whole thing is selected. The drop down arrow again will give you distribute contents evenly, and that's gonna snap them side by side. So that's what I do probably 90% of the time to make sure that they're evenly spaced.
Where is it? Say distribute evenly?
So if you click into one of them, hit the drop down arrow and hit select container, and then hit the drop down arrow there, you'll have distribute contents evenly.
Cool. Got it.
Okay, then I'd say the last thing that we need to do before we call this a completed dashboard is let's rename it. And let's just call this Superstore Sales Review or something. Now by default, Tableau doesn't put a title on your dashboard. Here I think it's kind of confusing because if I were to naturally look at the top left where I think a title would be, I see sales by category. I think that's what this whole thing is going to be about. If we go dashboard in the top menu button here and just hit show title, then that pops up, Superstore Sales Review. So we have sales by category, we have sales versus profit by state, top sales category by region,
How'd you do that?
dashboard,
Ah.
and the top nav, and then show title.
Let's show title. Cool. Cool.
All right, the last thing we'll do here before we kind of take our break and transition to the assignment portion of this is we're going to talk about tooltips. So I think this is a really clean dashboard. It's definitely better than the stuff that we had before. It minimizes the data ink ratio. Colors all match up across the board here. We have a nice filter to interact with. The only thing I don't love about this, and tooltips are a really, really, really handy tool, no pun intended, to use, where I can highlight here and see, okay, I'm technology category, March 2017, here's my sum of sales. What Tableau does by default, and actually this top one is really the only one that's an issue, is it's gonna say exactly what it's showing here. We all understand when it says month of order date, what it's talking about, because we knew that the field name was called order date, we selected month, that's why it's showing that. To our end users, I think that that's kind of confusing, and there's far worse examples when you get into like calculated fields and running totals and stuff like that. It will say exactly what it is. So let's actually change this. So let's go back to our sales by category view. And then over here on our little marks pane, there's this widget that says tooltip. If we click that, it'll pop up this pop box and it will show exactly what it's showing when we hover here. So category and text, and then when they're bold with these brackets around them, that means that it's actually showing what that field is. So that's why it says category here. I'm gonna change where it says month of order date to just month. Seems simple, but trust me, this will come in handy in the long run. Now when I hit OK, now when I hover over this, it just says category, office supplies, month, August 17, sales, 30,060. And you can feel free to get as fancy with this if you want. Sometimes what I'll do, and you guys don't have to do this because I think this is actually the best, but sometimes if I'm really trying to like tell a story, maybe it's someone that's never worked with this data before, I'm not presenting it to the CEO or someone, I'm presenting it to someone that's just learning about super sales data for the first time, I'll actually write a little narrative in here. So let's get some space and I'll just do and I'll just leave a little blank. I'm gonna say in January 2017, we did X sales in the category. And I was just using those as placeholders, so I can just do now if I'm looking at this data for the first time, I can see in March 17, we did 33,000 sales in the technology category. That eliminates any ability for someone to not understand exactly what's going on in this chart here. Again, I don't think we need it. I think it's overkill, but just to show the kind of functionality of the tooltip, that's what you can do there. Cool. Any questions? Bar charts, line charts, scatter plots, dashboards, tooltips. Good to go?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's take another 5 to 10 minute break. I'm just gonna call it 10 minutes to get rid of the ambiguity and come back, and we are going to replicate exactly what we just did, but with a different data set. And you guys will be leaving that. I'll be walking around helping. So data set that you use for week 1, great. If you want to try something else, great. But we're going to build out a nice dashboard with a line chart, a bar chart, and a scatter plot on your own, and that's what we'll publish up. So if you guys crank it out in 10 minutes, great. You can leave for the night. If not, we got the full hour to get that done. So let's be back here at 8:45. Sorry, 7:45. Hour-long break. Did I see someone raising hand?
Me.
Yeah.
I need to do something. So, only thing I couldn't do, yesterday was like, how do you download that, like?
Yeah, so anything that you are interested in, if you just click on the data set here.
I mean, these are hard.
Uh-huh.
I kind of,
You were just talking to the ones down below then?
yeah, cause I got that one before, but like if I like went, somewhere else, data sets, and I came over here and I downloaded. And so, then it was one here, I know data sets. So much better. See all the stuff I'm trying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, can you pull up the one that you were trying to download? Yeah, let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, go ahead and just click. Yeah, that's perfect. So I think it downloaded. Let's go ahead and open up your. So think, is that the yeah, so we just have to unzip that. So if we double click into that, it will give you the streaming services up to the screen. So,
Should I be able to pull it up?
yeah, you just open. Right now. Let's go data. And then since that was a CSV, let's switch the text file. Okay, and streams. Nice, there you go. It's annoying that it downloaded it as a zip file instead of just the data set.
Okay, so I just have to go click on it anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, we might force the right question.
Can you tell whether right now? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. No, this,
Install, reinstall.
no, this looks good. If it was the trial one, because we did that the other day, it would say like 14 days remaining. So the fact it says Tableau Public, you're good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's just part of what was on it, so now I'm attempting to see if I can.
Oh, okay.
Because I know.
So did you want you wanted the trial one?
No.
Okay.
I want this, like, because here's where I go to my school. Let's see. Right here. This.
Oh, so that's when you can download the data.
Right, but I have, obviously, they're like, abilities, I can't edit them.
Right.
But I want to combine, because I verify as people will pay attention to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I
Get the data. Yeah.
And I kind of know where to go, but it could have been 10 times better. The school
Right.
on my personal
Yeah.
device inside the school.
Right.
Can I download it outside the school? So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm testing, because that's ultimately the project I wanna, work towards having done some of this stuff, but I can't replicate it.
Right.
I really wanna
Yeah. If you
try
get
to
the data, we can do it for
that,
sure.
and that's what I'm working towards now, so.
Perfect. Love it.
It is like Yeah, that's why I said that. Yeah, I Instead of telling them what I'm about to do. So say it to them.
Sorry.
So no more.
Charlie.
How did, do I need to select all of those? You look, that's good down. Yes.
I wonder what the difference is.
I don't know, different. So it's quite arbitrary, it's broken down, so that's-
Yeah. I think we could probably just choose one for now.
there's no-
Figure out how we can make the bars skinnier to give more space between. I'm sure there are other better ways, but I noticed that as an option. Yeah. So like if you do the square size, it can make it skinnier. Okay. So it's like one way, but I'm sure there are other ways to padding. I know you can do padding like you did. Yeah, so it was just an idea. Yeah, no, I totally see that worthwhile. But yeah, I just kind of noticed that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But it also makes these spreader apart, so that's not what you want either. It's helpful.
That's so helpful, yeah.
So I think if you pull one of those around. Okay. We should have all four there.
think we should be fine with this. Let's know that. So what's happening is they don't have column names, and this I think is just the number one song. So it thinks the column name is Do It Rebook. But I think we can do. Okay. Maybe we're finding a different data set.
Just because even if we got this to work though, there's no, like measures for us to mess around with or stuff, so it might be kind of hard to replicate. Sorry, I failed you. All right. The last little section of class here. We're gonna replicate what we just did. So find a new data set, totally fine to use the one that you used last week, or if you hated it and wanted an excuse to find a new one, feel free to spend some time. The one thing that we were just talking about is like when you download it, make sure it has some good data for you to mess around with. So some measures to aggregate up and get this, maybe some dates in there too, just to make the rest of it a little bit easier. But if you don't like easy, feel free to grab something difficult too. Bring in a Tableau, build at least one a line chart, a bar chart, and a scatter plot. If we got to it, which we did, toss them in a dashboard, make sure all your tooltips look nice. If they already automatically look nice, no need to do extra work just for the sake of it. And then publish to Tableau Public. We will do the same thing that we did next week, where I'll have 3 or 4 people volunteer to come up and walk through them. And we'll go from there. Remember, you can go out to public.tableau.com to get some sample data if you need a good place to start. Otherwise, we will spend however long you guys want to spend building these up. The goal obviously is for you guys to not have to do anything outside the class, which is why we leave an hour for us to work on this. So I'll be like randomly working around, but if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. And people remote, like I said, this is a great time to, if you have a question, just chime in, share your screen, and I can walk you through it that way too.
For that data.world, do you have to pay for that? Or how do you get to,
I don't think so.
everything I see is get a demo, which,
Really?
yeah. So I'm not sure what I've got, every time it's not like a create. Yeah. I guess I.
Maybe we're doing it.
Oh.
So they also have a, like a data catalog product that is pretty new, just in the last couple of years. So I'm guessing they're trying to like switch away from like the get free data online and more like give us our data and we'll make it better for you. But you should still be able to use the search functionality in there.
Do we need to publish the work that we just did or just this new one that we're gonna do?
You don't need to. I found it beneficial in the past to be able to go back and reference stuff that I've done. So it doesn't hurt to publish it. You can always delete it out of there at the end of the class, but if you're indifferent, I would say publish. And I'm actually gonna publish mine right now too, and I'll shoot the link in the Slack channel for you guys to be able to reference as well.
Oh,
There you go.
no, I got a message on something, sorry.
Mm.
I was vocal, sorry.
If anyone's still looking or just future reference for future classes, I think I'm officially stating that Kaggle is the best spot to find data sets. I just flicked through a few different ones. It has like different trending data sets here, so you can see like what's popular right now. Top Valentine stuff, obviously that's coming up. But also like their search feature is really nice. So like I just typed in like Super Bowl. It's also coming up. You can see all the different results here. And what I like about it is it shows like total upvotes. So you don't have to worry about if it's like a crappy data set or not. You can choose ones that has like a ton of comments and votes. And go through different things that way as well too. Ah. Right. Yeah.
And just on track.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you think we'll be able to download it? I would.
Yeah, and just say.
Yeah. Marry those up. Yeah. Perfect. I love it.
Play around and try to do, that's the data set.
Yeah.
Look at Kaggle, and see, because I didn't look at that. I didn't see a lot of
Right.
educational data.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I'll go back and I'll look around a little bit too, but definitely like if you get the two data sets, if you have any trouble like joining them up together or anything, if you want to have a little early access or something, to help you do that, then we can focus on building our reports last time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That it should be free and easy. Yeah.
Here.
Okay, yeah, it's totally fine.
Try, see. I wanted to move this header to the bottom,
Yes.
and I couldn't quite figure out how to do that.
One second.
Okay.
Looks like some good data there.
Do you know, like, way to make code stuff in Kaggle?
Yes.
There's just a few fields I'm not sure. Here it says something about,
Mm-hmm.
it's the actual.
Hmm. Interesting. Maybe a separate question. I bet if you download this, oh, there we go. It will have,
Nice.
yes, I'm guessing, oh yeah, keep on keeping. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, getting the headers on the bottom. That's something to look up for you real quick. I know there's a way to do it. Okay, so there's not a single reason you can do it. There is a workaround.
Could it be different, like what I filter by neighborhood versus room type?
That'd be nice if we could drag it down.
I feel like it would be easier to correlate. And then I wonder too, like if you could say, because like that one obviously is so much more, but I was like, could you cut it to be like 8K plus so that it would crop more?
Right now, your range is
Uh-huh.
automatic, so 0 to 10,000. I just want to look at
Oh, okay,
things
good
that are
sense.
over 8,000.
Oh, okay. So it's like if it capped at 8,000, it would just go off the chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
can fix or.
Okay.
Find something good here. There we go. It's a good start, always. You get that done. Oh, so just make sure it's the CSV, you have to go to text file, which is really annoying. Okay, sweet. Yeah, of course. So Melinda, I don't know if it's worth the effort or not, but
Okay.
just in case you wanted to know, the only way I could figure out how to do it, I went through a few like online forums and stuff too, is to just kind of hack it. So here, let me just start over. It's actually pretty quick.
Do we do it in the dashboard?
Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
what I did
figured
was I just
could do
tossed
that, but.
a horizontal container there, and then I just brought in text things, and I just went central, so on and so forth,
Okay,
and then removed center fees. And then, brought in the other ones.
okay. Yeah, I kind of was like, I bet I could do it in the dashboard, but.
Yeah, and then you
Okay.
just bring these down, remove these, and then you have like fake headers down at the
Okay.
bottom there. But
Yeah.
there's not a way to just organically move them down.
Data sets are trash.
things are going.
I've gone through like 5 data sets, so I'm just a little frustrated because they're just not, the data that they have, in my mind, it's not working.
Yeah.
They're either all dimensions or all measures. There's no time, so the line charts are getting
Right.
screwy, but I think I'm just gonna stick to basic.
The volcano one you had last time.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Good
I
to follow.
think I'm just gonna follow up with the World Cup.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got a little bit more. When I'm picking my data source, it's giving me these different ones. How am I dictate?
Yeah, so like, those are just gonna be different tabs inside of the Excel.
Can I move them all in
Not unless there's like an easy way to like join them, so like an identifier column or something.
there? Yeah.
I think it, do you have the Excel a little better? That's fine. I already guessed the one that's had a Tableau format would be your, the best choice.
This one?
Yeah. You go ahead and just drag, you should be able to drag it out. Whatever.
Okay. Okay, that looks a little easier. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Nice. I like it. Little line chart perhaps. Let's go ahead and just create a new sheet here. Yeah. Let's bring over, yeah, let's just do that same thing, but, in line chart. So actually, let's keep this exactly as is. Let's create a different scatter plot. So if we just change this, and just go line. Boom, done. Now for your scatter plot, let's do ratings, votes. And then let's choose one of these, whichever one you can try, a few different ones, and drag those onto colors. And it should pop up, it'll just bring it here right now, the color. Add them all, just do it. There you go. But yeah, so I don't know what the different things are, but whichever one you think would be best. And then, yeah, if you just toss those three into a dashboard. Okay. All good. What's weird? Yeah, yeah, I will trust your confidence. You're doing monitor up there.
This is an easy one to bring.
Yeah, this is sweet, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. And I had jumped in before, but I must not really replace that.
Mm.
Hard. Man, I know I had to turn upside down, I mean, that's, I get there, and then I can't even sign it to see, because, yeah. it goes up that far.
Right.
You know, but I tried.
I'll say about architecture. You're doing all this thing. Shit.
The lines on the back, so there's that one.
Oh.
You know, and that just tells me what's on it. It's its power.
Right. You said you tried that one.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't have a lot of time, you know. But that's what I was getting at. I'm just trying to have it set up. Since I can't download that.
Right.
Right now, please, this one, maybe it's just. Because this might be for a Mac. You know.
Right.
But now if I go over here. So it doesn't have, so put in the settings here, maybe this is something. So it sees the two. Does it get power? Or just see the light at the end? Right. Okay. It's just one of the other.
Another chord.
Because there you see it at least.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're here. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And they do have to have it back. You know, push the button back.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'll be able to see if it's a laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the same thing on mine too. So that's frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. Oh. There we go. We're able to figure out those questions.
Yeah, yep,
Nice.
I was able to figure out all of them, thank you.
Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a new data sheet,
Nice.
because I couldn't find good data for, yeah, so it's like Oscar, there's my gender. Weird, so I got that,
Yeah, super cool.
yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah, so let's bring, that, so let's try to go a little. Yeah. Nice. So,
Oh, I think I got it.
yeah,
It's just that I didn't have the other side.
automatic, yeah.
To spread it.
Yeah, this looks great. Let's do, let's finish it off real quick. Go to the dashboard. Let's go show title. Let's go ahead and call this whatever you want to. And then, that's nice that these are both the same color, so you can only use one of those. So just like how you did kind of automatic slice here, you do the same thing in your individual views. Use kind of entire view. Oh, yeah, that is good. Tooltips, fine. Nice, there you go. Yeah, I mean, if you want to mess around and try some different things out, great. If you want to go ahead and hit save and publish that up, then I think you got all you need to do for that.
Yeah, I'm getting a little lost.
Yeah.
I found the volcano data set. It's just, most of these data sets didn't have enough information. I guess to do what we're kind of doing. If I'm looking at the line graph, do I need, where am I putting my year?
Yeah.
As far as,
Go ahead and drag that right under us. And then let's go and do our handy dandy little swap columns and rows, one over another. Just fine.
and so I was trying to filter it from 0 onward, or 1600 onward.
Right. So we'll get to these in a bit. Let's see, we just make it date.
Yeah, no. Recognize the syntax. It's probably getting confused with that. I mean, I can find another data set too. This is data set 5 that has been doing tests. Just do, no, you can also just do something like this, which is gonna be like, maybe you're curious if seasonality is involved. You wanna see which month has the most deaths, so this will be all years combined, but you see. So July is the longest deaths in a given month. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll do it.
mess around with that though. I'll play around with it.
We should be able to create a data.
Charlie, I got a question too, any chance?
Of course.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, they're extended, so.
Huh.
I know.
Well, you're smarter than I, because I never heard about that.
I do that. So I have to fill out the application yet. Dates on students.
Oh, okay.
This is this class, but this is intelligent. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I do that so I can.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Let's do, maybe like should update this. Really good.
To create categories of something tableau rather
Yes. What would you like to create?
than, can I change this to decade rather than year?
Oh,
I think we can.
so let's do, how many? 58 through. Well, there's a couple different ways we can do it. I think the easiest for right now.
Yeah. That's what I do.
So the easiest way would be
I'll see you next week.
go create. What I was thinking is we could just go click here and then scroll down to like the 60s and like group those together.
Oh.
But just one way to do it.
Is that still creating a monograph or what?
Yeah, so by default. Here said, we'll do this. And now it's just, it looks weird because these are all individual, one day at a time. But our 50s and 60s, we just have to go through this
Oh, okay.
together.
Okay,
So I think that's the easiest way.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
We'll get to, a couple of you have asked about changing data, and there's these things called calculated fields, which will allow us to do some really, really easy kind of code syntax and change our fields in a way that best suits us.
okay.
See what might be with those. Like 6, but we may move that up a little bit.
Yes. Oh, we gone. This one was.
So it's a little scatter, we should be good. Bring, let's try doing this. Yes. Gosh, it's a really morbid data set.
I know. Injuries, people missing.
Yeah.
We do injuries and
Missing. And just go group that by
country.
skew. play around.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we may. Yeah, so there's. Well, once you bring it over to a bigger setting, okay.
It was negative.
Yeah.
Get something we can start with.
Here, let's see, yeah. Right. What we can do. Excuse me. Have a good night, boys. Let's see what is. Do you see that? There's just like some data and user numbers.
Yeah, that was confusing.
So we do something like that. All this on screen. Yeah, okay. This is bad. I just don't want you to get bogged down on like having it be an actual chart where we kind of have to go into it and then just like make the focus on the visualizations themselves as opposed to like the data. So you can do that. This one's easy, the line chart. This one's easy for the bar. So I just toss this in. I got a little bit of possible. Good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So Charlie, when I sent you the page,
Yeah, I did.
I said, did you get it?
Yes.
You did, okay, but now I was looking at Nate's thing, the question on our YouTube channel, so I'm just gonna, because I'm not a huge YouTube
Yeah.
person, where I wanna make sure I get the right channel. Do you know the channel?
Yeah, if you search on Data Science Academy, or actually just scroll up here.
Right here?
Or
So if I just get slapped down, I'll do it because we have this class out there tonight.
As soon as you guys get all set, yeah.
Okay, and it'll be right off that. Okay. Cause I'll be traveling for district office,
Oh, yeah, where are you guys going?
Grand Island.
There you go.
So I can watch it on my way out and try to get the data.
Is it at, Grand Island Senior High?
I think so. I haven't honestly looked that far ahead. We had the whole sub-district last Friday and so I
Oh, yeah,
had college signing day today, so it's just been one of those
yeah,
survival modes. But
survived
I
advance,
didn't want to miss the opportunity to connect here because
yeah.
I can walk away from education any day. So just have options open, but I
Yeah.
also talk with the people in our data science academy, because I really want to
Yeah,
blow in the hands of kids
yeah, I
down the road. you
I
know,
also
even-
love that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they said I have to be certified to be able to even get a desktop license. And did you certify me in PowerPoint or Photoshop?
Right,
You said learn it and do it.
right,
No certification, so what's the difference?
yeah,
Oh,
we'll show them.
too much knowledge. Yeah.
Yep, how do you like?
Not my best work.
What is that?
It's not my best work, but
Hey, like I was telling,
it gets the point.
a couple of people, it's like, yep, have a good night. Like, this is definitely, we gotta remember the goal is just to learn to get the visualizations in a great spot, even if it's crappy data. It's good practice working with crappy data, as frustrating as it may be. But I just don't want us to get too bogged down on finding the perfect data set. Actually, next week, what we'll go through is how to like kind of create our own, and hook that up to like a live data set.
Gotcha.
So like if you wanna like track what you eat in a day or your
Yeah.
hours worth and stuff like that. You can just have a live Tableau review, so, or a Tableau dashboard.
I understand a data set, right, when I download the attendance data and the grade, that the commonality is gonna be the student's ID.
Yeah.
Or am I gonna put that on one sheet, the grades, and another sheet, or am I gonna have two different?
You should, as long as
Excel.
like the student ID is in both of them, we can actually join up, yeah, have a great night. We can actually join up right in Tableau.
Okay, so just download the data with the student ID in one spreadsheet. Download the separate in the other, and then we'll.
If it has, but we'll need student ID in both of them, so that we can put
Right,
it together.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
that's,
totally fine to leave them as separate sheets,
Yeah.
we can join them up.
and what I might have to do is just go replace
Yeah.
the names, or, delete just so, but as long as we don't publish it up.
Yeah.
I know I have the right.
We just
to-
won't, yeah, we won't even put the names in the dashboard,
Right.
we'll just do student ID, and then when you get home by yourself, you can look up which IDs are names or whatever, but
Right,
yeah, we'll be good.
thank you.
I like your hat.
Thank you. I got it at do you know where Lumen Brewery is?
Yeah, down in Little Bohemia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like, if you keep walking in the back, it kind of looks like a staff like entryway, but there's a small little wine shop.
Really?
Yeah, and it fits like maybe 5 people.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's where, that's the brand?
Yeah.
Cool.
Ideal cat wine, I think.
Cool.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that there was a wine shop there.
yeah, neither did, I was looking for the bathroom, and
That's how you find
and
the
somebody was
best
back there
things.
selling wine, and it was like, oh, this is fancy bathroom. Now, you said you're in the IO program, or you're